Alright, so last time we discussed how the central theme that is to blame for all of these problems out there is your thought process, or lack thereof. Now to address this, we're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning. And I don't mean Genesis, we'll get to that in good time. I'm talking about the beginning of your lives, because this is where your thought process begins, and this is where it starts to get corrupted into something it's not supposed to be. Now, to discuss this, we're going to have to start bringing in some advanced technology to do so, which means that we're going to have to bring in the discussionometron. Now, we're going to bring in all these high-tech devices because it's going to help to explain things to you. So, when we come into this world, what do we know? Well, not a damn thing. Well, all we know is that we're thrown into this reality, into a body we can't control, that we know nothing about, and somehow it's got needs that we have no understanding about how to take care of them, and we don't know anything about the world around us. This is what we know, absolutely nothing. We just know that we're hungry, we have to make some squishy stuff, we have to make some wet stuff, and we need to sleep at some point. Now, how do we take care of ourselves in this situation? Well, we don't. We have these creepy creatures that are wandering around, and they take care of the needs for us. Now, anyone who's a parent can recognize this. This is what babies do. This is what babies need. Now, in this situation, that means that we are entirely dependent upon them for our survival. This is understandable. Not everyone can take care of themselves at this stage. How long should this dependency last? This is going to depend. Each individual is unique, each individual is different, each individual progresses at their own time scales. Again, this is understandable, but self-sufficiency should occur at some point, or the system is screwed up in some fashion. You don't see animals in nature going, "Oh, Mom, I'm 9 to 10 years old. Can I have some bitty?" No. A mother tiger is going to say, "Get the hell out of here. I've raised you. Get out there, fend for yourselves." This is how life continues. Humanity has an issue where you could have self-sufficiency be hampered by either a mothering Maggie who never lets her kids out to play or experience the world, or maybe there's physical, mental, or emotional situations that kind of impede this from occurring. Or you've got the third one where society has said, "Hey, you know what? You have all the tools to provide for yourselves. You're mentally capable, you're physically capable, you've got everything working for you. But we're going to go ahead and take care of you. Don't bother working, don't bother, figuring things out on your own. We're going to take care of you." Now this is kind of disgusting, and we're going to cover this later. And it doesn't just occur at the bottom layer of society. It happens elsewhere, and like I said, it's a different discussion. But self-sufficiency needs to be attained. So, how is it attained? Well, clearly the board says through knowledge or experience, so that's what I'm going to go with. And at this point, I might have riled some religious fundamentalists. That's okay. They're going to say that knowledge is the fruit of the tree of evil. This is just bullshit. Flat out bullshit. Knowledge is simply an understanding of this reality, how it functions. And that means that if you're looking at something that's flickering and hot and very bright, knowing what that is, how to interact with that safely, that's knowledge. You can't expect that some divine creator would toss us on this planet and say, "Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This place is incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. There are lots of things that can kill you instantly. But don't find out about them. Don't try and figure out how things work. Just don't. Good luck." This is stupid. There's no way that this occurred. So finding out how the world operates, this is a good thing. This will allow you to survive. This will allow the species to continue. To be fair, knowledge by itself is not evil. But when you start understanding how reality functions, and you take that knowledge and you kind of yank it away from the respect of the situation, of the broader understanding of what that knowledge represents, or what it ties into, this is where it starts getting evil. Because you can end up taking that knowledge and bastardizing it beyond the point of its original intention, and then creating something that it wasn't meant to handle or address. Again, we'll talk about this later, but this acquiring of knowledge or experience is important. If knowledge or experience is necessary to explore and understand this world, you could have three schools of thought on how to address this. You can go with the first one where people say, oh, well, we don't need that. We've got this book over here and it tells us all we need to know. Well, this is stupid because now you're kind of putting yourself in a plastic bubble, in which case you fill that bubble with all the information from this book that doesn't cover everything. So you put this in that bubble and that's all people are allowed to deal with in the world, in which case along comes a little prick to pop that bubble, and now you're in trouble because you can't figure out how to address the issue because this prick has managed to say, oh, well, your book contradicts itself in some places. It doesn't explain some of these other processes that you're going to have to interact with on a daily basis. It doesn't explain everything. So how do you explain this if it's not within the bubble? This is a problem. You're going to have to address it. And this is how atheism starts, because they started off with some secure bubble and suddenly they're exposed to something that the book doesn't cover. The second method of dealing with the world is saying, you know what, I'm just going to do all this stuff on my own. I'm going to go ahead and go explore this area over here. I'm going to go study this here. This is inefficient, horribly inefficient, because you don't have time to explore the entire world, to examine and experience every situation out there. You just don't. There isn't enough time in your life to make this happen. This is going to lead us to the third method of acquiring knowledge or experience. And this one is kind of cheating in that you're not doing all the work yourself. You're comparing notes with other people out there. So if you want to know how your car works, you go to a mechanic and say, hey, buddy, I can't figure out why my car's not starting. They're going to tell you what they know about vehicles, and you can say, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Now I have an understanding of this situation, an understanding of the world. And once you start doing this, once you start passing information and experiences back and forth with people, this is starting to wander into the area of discourse, of sharing collective knowledge. This is great. But if you're going to have a conversation where you share knowledge back and forth, you're going to need some rules in place. Because sometimes you might inadvertently piss people off, or you might be trying to hide from information that's really necessary for you to understand. So at this point, we're going to have to pull in the Rulematic 2100.